When I first got into game development, I remember there was always this one specific full project tutorial that I was always watch. And I'd maybe come like 4, maybe 5 episodes into this series before I just got completely stuck on something and just gave up. I was so clueless. I watched the guy literally tell me step by step exactly what we were actually going to do, but I still managed to get stuck on something because I never actually learned what we were doing. And now I'm making this video because I don't want you to make the same mistake as me. You're wasting your time. Think of tutorials as a cooking recipe. You are reading this cooking recipe over and over and you're expecting to become a chef. Like, sure, you can memorize everything, but the first time you enter the kitchen, how do you think that's going to play out? You burn the pan, you forget the salt, you realized you never actually learned how to cook. The only thing you learned was just to follow instructions. But after this one time of entering the kitchen for the first time, you learn from your mistakes. Now you know the importance of regulating the temperature so you don't burn the pan. And now you also learn the importance of salt and how that amplifies the tastes. And now for sure you won't forget the salt because you already made that mistake. Because you remember the last time you made a full meal but it didn't taste as good because you didn't have any salt. You just learn from your mistakes. And you just learn much more in that first time in the kitchen than you did in all of those hours where you're reading the cooking recipe. And if you're watching this video, that's probably the scenario you're in. You're constantly trying to memorize this cooking recipe and expect to become a chef. You're just reading this recipe, or in our case, you're just watching all these tutorials, because taking action is hard. Reading a recipe is much easier than actually going into the kitchen and doing the work. And I completely get that. When you're creating a project, you have to use your brain a lot. You can't just click buttons to make something, you have to think. Because we are programmers, we are developers, we are developing systems and developing games. So you need to think logically. Our work is hard, it requires us to use our brain. But the hard truth is that we don't actually learn anything from watching these tutorials. We actually have to go into the kitchen, we have to make real projects. Only watch tutorials if you're stuck. Watching a full series, that's just coping. It's like reading these cooking recipes for hours and hours on end and expecting to learn. Sure, if you want to make something fun, you can maybe follow one of those if you, for some reason, really want that. But for 99% of you, you actually want to learn and you want to become a game developer, not just do this for fun. And in that case, these full tutorial series are just coping. Now, what are we actually going to do instead? Now, I'm just going to say it straight out like it is. One small shit game you made yourself is 10 times better than a polished full game tutorial series game. And if you come from being in this tutorial hell to actually creating projects, I'm going to tell you step by step what to do. So if you're watching this, you are probably a beginner. So the first thing you are going to do is you're going to pick just one mechanic, enemy, just one idea, just one goal. And you can also use itch.io for inspiration, for example. There it's a lot of unprofessional, just indie game projects. And you can also look at my itch.io page. It has a few prototypes that I've uploaded, but it doesn't have to be like a full gameplay loop like I post on my itch.io page. It can just be one mechanic, like a turret, for example, shooting in circles, or a random spawning system, or an arena spawner, or just a simple enemy, like whatever. It's just something that you kind of think you can do, but also it might be a little hard for you. That's the sweet spot. That's the perfect sweet spot. Because it's something you can actually complete by just using your brain to try to figure out the solutions, as well as Googling the implementations. And now you have an idea. And with this idea, you're going to create it from scratch. You are going to open up an empty project in your game engine, and you're just going to create the entire thing yourself. And as I said before, you can Google the specific implementations if you need to. Just make sure that the idea isn't that complicated, that you are constantly searching up things and searching up the logic and stuff. Then your idea is too complicated, so just scale it down a bit. And in this project, you are not going to care about how ugly it is. Like I promise you, if you're a beginner, probably will be a little ugly and unpolished and have like a weird feel to it, but it doesn't really matter. Like, you're a beginner, this is just for learning, it's not for releasing, so don't care about polish and visuals and before you're actually done with the project. When you're done, you can maybe spend some few minutes tweaking the visuals and adding a little bit of polish if you want to. That can be a little bit of fun when you're actually done. So as I said, you are going to Google everything you don't know, and your loop here should kind of be to test something, break something, and then fix it. And you just move forward in that loop. You constantly test, break, fix, test, break, fix, and eventually, just by doing these three things, you will have that one goal that you created fully implemented if you just follow these three steps. Test, break, and fix. And maybe the most important thing is to actually release the project. So even about it is just lay your perfectionism on the table for like a few minutes. Even if it's terrible, just get it out there, okay? Go into itch.io, build a project, and upload the files. Give it a name, maybe make a cool store page if you like to do that. But the most important is to just get it out there. You can just upload the files if you want, it doesn't really matter. And if you enjoy doing these visual things and you maybe would just want to polish the game up a little bit, you can use a Unity universal render pipeline when you're creating the project. And then you can also just add some post-processing at the end. And you can also just add some lighting to the game. It's a really, like, these two things are a really simple way to make your game like just a little bit more pretty. Like, not pretty at all, but like probably 10 times better than just having squares and circles, which your game probably is right now. And a very important thing before you actually start is to be as organized as possible. Being organized is like its own skill. And it's also a really good habit when you're starting to create these bigger and bigger projects. If you just get into the habit of always being organized, your bigger projects is going to be much, much easier to develop as well. And if this project is something that you're going to work on for several sessions, which it probably will, just make sure to leave a little note for yourself at the end of the session before you log off about what you're actually doing and what you're currently working on. So just where you left off, basically. That makes it much easier to get back into work the next time you load up the project. Now, if you want a complete step-by-step guide on how to become a fully productive indie game developer with limited time, where we lay everything out for you in a video format, we take you from A to B and help you reach your goals, you should definitely click the link in the description. Now, how to progress from here. So when you've built these 5 games from scratch, you are officially no longer a tutorial zombie. So congratulations. What we're going to do after we've created these 5 projects is that we are going to create a full gameplay loop. So we're actually going to create a game. And a full gameplay loop basically just means that, like, you have an objective, you have like maybe a score or like a health system, some enemies, and you can die and restart and try to get a better score or something in that loop. Like, you know what a game is. Like, basically just a fully functioning game which you can play. And now, after you've created 3 games with a fully functioning gameplay loop, you are going to plan out a bigger release where you maybe have some upgrades, achievements, more complex systems, you even do some marketing maybe, and you actually care a little bit more about polishing and the visuals. And now I also have some more in-detailed videos on my channel about these topics and about things you might encounter when you are on this journey. So you should definitely subscribe for that if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.